pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And welcome, and thank you for coming. We've got a pretty sizable group tonight. We've got a number of people reporting out, so we'll try to move this as quickly as possible and still get all of the information that folks have. Any announcements from anyone, the board?
Just that it's really good to look out and see people looking back.
There are actual entrants, right? We have an appointment first thing tonight with Chief Boers and our welfare director Nancy Johnson with regard to assistant in emergency situations. So I believe you two have had a discussion, so I guess I would offer it up to you to present what you have.
Yeah, Bennett, I have a few things that we were under the impression we were going to actually have a discussion here tonight.
Oh, all right.
But we've come with a few things. A voucher process, 2 different amounts, like a $25 voucher if they just need a few personal hygiene items to get them through the weekend. Because this is only going to need to be for like a 3-day span until I can get in the office and they can contact me that day. And a $50 voucher that Matt can have on hand over there for like food, something to get them through the weekend. And a list of phone numbers, like to the clothing closet, someone to contact, the food pantry, someone to contact, the shelter phone number. Just to kind of put together a package like that, and Matt has some other things as well.
Yeah, I think having a list of contact information available for our staff to be able to utilize after hours when town hall may be closed and or others may be inaccessible or unavailable. And Nancy had mentioned the voucher program. That seemed to make sense, and I believe that would work so that this isn't happening on a day-to-day basis. This may happen once in 6 months, but it's happened a couple times in the past year on a couple occasions. So I think that if you were okay with it, or if it needs to come from her, or if something we can work internally with the administrator, that we'll push it forward.
What was your recommended amounts again?
$25 and $50. If it's just like a small 1 or 2 person, and these vouchers would have to be something that the town would take care of completely. You know how we have 50% reimbursement? This wouldn't be able to come out of that because there would be no GA appointment.
It would have to be separate from the
Correct.
general assistance budget process.
Yes. And Matt's got blankets and things like that on hand, so, you know, that type of stuff.
In generally, for our situation, if in the emergency type response for us would be that Red Cross or other outside service agencies would assist when when possible. It's only in the event that they're not available or they're available but can't provide some of the services, which we've found recently. So,
Is this something that the administrator can authorize without us, without us voting on it?
I would think so.
It would still come out of the GA budget, we just wouldn't get reimbursed for any of it.
And I think, as we all know, it's not something that, this is an infrequent occurrence, right?
Correct.
There's, somebody loses a home or at least, through some sort of an event, fire or whatever, that they cannot live. And, as recently happened where a person lost everything, even basically the clothes off of his back, right? So how do we make sure that that person gets something, all right, from the municipality to say, hey, all right, we know that
on the contact list, I do have the number for the clothing closet, and she is willing to call her up and she'll be there.
Okay. So, just one question, I guess, and this goes back to either Matt or Lisa. When a family is burnt out or whatever, who is the first, other than you guys, which are on the scene, is there an agency, is there anyone, is Red Cross, or does somebody actually appear on site to help counsel?
We made contact with the Red Cross,
Okay.
and generally they respond, and in most cases, they take care of the victims very well.
So
Whether it's-
somebody comes to the site and deals that, in the interim, if there's something that we can do with this packet, I guess that's an additional opportunity to help,
And
right?
it may not be offered up immediately anyways, but in this case, the response that we got was they provided the best that they could. And given the superstorm Sandy had just occurred and a lot of resources were already being consumed, or funds from what I understood, it came down to the local level that we didn't have some of the basics for this individual. It was only a family of one at this point that was documented with them. So there were some clothing issues. We had tried going to the clothing closet, but it was closed at the time, and there was, so when I spoke to Nancy, I said, let's come up with I asked if we can come up with a list of after-hours contacts from some of these outsourced agencies to utilize them, and whether or not we had any additional, funds or through general assistance to be able to help the individual. So we come up, I think that the plan should work, because it is an infrequent event. And even if a fire happens tomorrow, more than likely that there'll be a lot of other resources.
So is your understanding from Red Cross that their resources was exhausted because of Hurricane Sandy?
At the time, for some of it, they put the person up in a hotel for several days, but some of the other incidental stuff that apparently wasn't readily available at the time. He was put up in a hotel in South Portland. Some of the toiletries weren't immediately available, and there were other issues around that as well for the individual. So we were trying to help him as much as we could locally, but
Questions?
When I spoke with the fire chief originally, we didn't seem to have a standardized protocol, and it kind of left them in a little bit of a lurch, making phone calls here and there because they couldn't get a hold of one party or the other. So when I brought it up before the board, we wanted to establish something that they could, a more formalized procedure that would assist in these rare occasions when we do need to help somebody out. I know I spoke with the fire chief about the military surplus that's available over in Sanford, and you can get toiletries over there. They have toothpaste and toothbrush and that type of stuff that we could probably get some and have available on hand at the fire station in like little emergency kits or something. They can just grab it off the shelf and give it to them. The clothing issue, again, that may have been addressed here by Nancy, and she's spoken with the clothes closet. So that may, but at least to have something standardized that all department heads could follow, depending on who gets, I guess, or who's involved, or who gets wind of someone needing, assistance. And I thought that would probably include like oil and stuff like that on there as well, who we get a hold of, and what we need to do on that. So,
I think we had one occasion in the past year or so, year and a half, that we actually had an oil request for heat, and I think we did a similar type of event. I think we ended up getting a hold of Nancy somehow, I think through Nancy Brandt, but it was a similar type of situation where it was a weekend event, and they ended up calling the fire station, and they answered the phone.
yeah. So in my mind, the fuel assistance thing, it's not really, at least in my mind, an emergency, because I think people should be cognizant of what the fuel level is, and they shouldn't wait till the 11th hour and make it an emergency situation. I mean, these things should be monitored so that that can be taken care of, prior to a weekend, so people aren't scrambling around. I think to some degree it's their own fault for, just because you think it's an emergency on their part doesn't necessarily make it an emergency on ours. I mean, obviously, we're not going to let somebody freeze or something like that, but
That could be another voucher situation.
some common sense needs to come into play here.
So for an incident that happens or whatnot, you guys all feel you're fairly confident that we've got something that we can at least hand off to the individuals. It'll walk them through whatever process, phone name, and whatnot. The real issue is the vouchers, and I would guess that you're working with the town administrator, that can be fixed relatively quickly, right?
Mhm.
So that's in the packet, and it's done deal, right?
Yeah.
You might have to co-sign a voucher or something just to make sure that it's live, right, when it leaves with the person.
And we can certainly talk more about that too,
Yeah.
and work with her.
Okay? Need anything else from the board?
Just the approval to do it.
We appreciate everybody kind of pulling together in these instances and doing this, so. So, I don't know if we need a formal vote, but.
So I'm just thinking if,
Yeah.
if you know that we basically agree with this, that, you know, that
Yeah, Ms.
that
Christina-
Nancy can,
I think Christina can put in the notes that the board is, there's a consensus that this would go forward and work between town administrator Nancy and Chief Borza in his absence. Assistant or deputy chief, I guess it is, right? Okay, thank you. Moving along, hearing the delegation, anyone here that's not on the agenda but would like to speak? And so no one jumped up, we'll move right along here. Correspondence, and I won't belabor these, but there's a list of correspondence, weekly treasurer's report, Representative Libby's report, list of boards and committee vacancies, assessing agents, December calendar, 12-town group notice for a meeting that will be held next Monday night here, motor vehicle agents November report, and Ecomaine recycling reports. We're all available. If anybody would like a copy, please contact Christina, and we'll move on from there. Reports from staffs and initiatives. We're going to add two things here. Take that liberty. We would like to get the treasurer in here just for a few moments to go over the changes that we're going to be discussing later tonight in the auditor's report, and that'll only take a few minutes. And then we have the addition, which is omitted on the reports and staff from the RSU 57 board members. So keeping that in mind, if somebody could just step out and see if Julie is available, we'll jump into contract deputy report while we're trying to track her down. So, Sean?
I'll try to be swift. For those that don't know me, my name's Deputy Sean Sanborn. I'm the contract deputy for Waterboro. And this is the report for fall 2012. September and October were surprisingly quieter for town. Tourist has gone home, children are back in school, just the usual traffic issues, and just got me caught up on my paperwork. A couple exceptions were a mentally disturbed woman that a lot of us are familiar with that lives on the lake. She was acting up, calling our dispatch a lot with some weird things. I tried to get her children to do an intervention because we've had some big incidents with her in the past that weren't so good. So I called her children up, her adult children, and said, can you get this under control? And I think they did because it's quieted down, so that's good. And Halloween rolls around, and it's like the town got jump-started on Halloween. Halloween itself wasn't too bad. That morning we had some motor vehicle burglaries reported on Beaver Dam Road in Lake Arrowhead. That was a result of unlocked vehicles. Still missing a whole lot of ammunition taken from one truck, rifle ammunition, and a GPS from another house down the road. Folks, please lock your vehicles in your houses. I can't tell you enough. Later that day, I was out patrolling on the York County ATV around Lake Arrowhead, giving out candy, trying to keep an eye on things. things were fairly quiet. I had a moment of concern with one lad in a jacked up pickup truck squealing his tires, and he was good after that. I think he thought I was in costume. It was pretty good. Not one of my usual kids. He's been quiet since. Later that night, three teenage males were chased down by an angry homeowner after they had slapped and banged the side of his house and reportedly scared his pregnant wife. He caught up to them and apparently returned the favor to their heads and shoulders. And he was charged by Deputy Searway with 3 counts of assault. In spite of him being charged with that, I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for the teenage males. And that's all I'll say about that. Maybe they won't do that again. Old Alfred Road, we had a major incident down there concerning drugs. A Westbrook male that had moved out here with his family and had been arrested before. We had no idea he was here. I got a minor call for a well-being check that I won't get into, but that led to a conversation where I became aware of his activity involving heroin and marijuana. I did up a report, and that was followed up on. A larger federal agency became involved very quickly in the next few days after that, and he's now in federal custody. So that worked out pretty well, and he is no longer on Old Alfred Road. So it's a victory there for the good guys. I don't think we'll see him again soon. I think that's going to be his 3rd strike for that kind of thing. There was a fight at the big fight. Well, not a big fight. There was a minor fight at the transfer station. A little fist fight there one day on one of the busiest days of the year. Clint said. I guess it was quite a show, and multiple townspeople saw that. So I don't know if anyone was aware. That did end up getting cleaned up. I found out who the aggressor was and charged him accordingly. Some protection orders have been exchanged as a result of that. That was out of a kind of a feud that's been going on for a long time, and I explained to both sides that kind of thing is not tolerable in public or anywhere else. But so hopefully that's the end of that. Old Portland Road. The last couple weeks, some houses have been egged. I think it was all in 1 or 2 nights. Kids going out egging houses. I doubt it was adults going out egging the houses and prank knocking. Myself and Deputy Solomon from the high school have put our feelers out, and we're still asking for some suspect information, but no one's been forthcoming. So I'm still looking for that. Some people are upset about the damage to their siding and houses. The staining from the eggs. 2 nights ago, a vehicle on Beaver Dam Road again, was badly vandalized. Looked like someone took a club of some kind or a baseball bat and smashed out several windows and some of the body as well. It looks personal to me, but I'd like some information about that if someone wants to give it to me. I have a general idea, but I need some more information on that one if someone wants to give me a call. I had a case where a local elderly woman was being victimized by her grandson. He was draining her bank account going back to July up until October. Not a very smart thing to do by someone doing that, because it leaves a big paper trail. And he was nice enough to confess to me about that, and he's been charged with felony theft. I've advised him to start saving his pennies and dollars, and I put a court date down the road so he can save up for that court date and volunteer to do restitution as soon as he lands in court. So hopefully that will be, she'll get repaid. Woody's Pub, no problems with the pub itself, but they were the victim in this one. They had 4 empty beer kegs stolen from outside. They're supposed to be picked up, not by these people. 3 suspects have been identified, and they're not readily available, so I'm seeking warrants for their arrest. We believe the motivation is drug addiction. one of the three suspects already has a warrant for her arrest. Another one was on bail. They weren't exactly Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts on this one. One of the male parties is believed to be a heroin addict, and he likes to steal scrap metal, turn it in to get his milk money. So I'm trying to track them down. If you didn't know, a midnight shift deputy was assaulted by a Meadowbrook Drive, a drunken minor person under 21 years old. He wasn't even under arrest, decided to take a swing at Deputy Jones. Well, Deputy Jones was trying to figure out why he was so drunk and raising Cain in his house at dark 30. Ended up getting his face burned by a cigarette. No minor injuries, but the male was taken to jail. I dealt with him several years ago. He was siphoning gas around town, and Alfred as well with his friends. So this kid's known to us. Deering Ridge Road. If anyone didn't know about this, we had a burglary involving gun theft up there, just right near Joseph's Way. The homeowner came home and saw two males running with a sack over their shoulder like Santa Claus away from the house, filled up with his guns. It's kind of lucky he got home and caught them, because we were able to get deputies out there. Sergeant Dave Chevette responded and got a state police canine unit from nearby right to the scene fast. They were able to find the sack of guns in the woods. Luckily they weren't shot at, because I think a lot of the guns were actually loaded at the time. And on the way back, after recovering the firearms, the dog picked up the suspects down in the woods, and they got them as well. So that's still under investigation. There's some other suspects involved with that. Justin Way, that is a road directly across 202 from Old Alfred Road. That was burglarized, I believe, last night. Deputy Rue was investigating that. It was a forced back door. The suspects concentrated on the room of the homeowner's daughter. Chadbourne Ridge Road, last Saturday night. Now, I'm used to looking for pit parties during warm weather, but apparently there was a Christmas party up there of some sorts on Saturday night, because the warden service called me Sunday morning and said that the fire was still smoldering up there in their usual party spot. Said every dirt intersection up there had been...
Told you to put that fire out.
Every intersection had been spun up with four-wheel drives, ATVs or whatever, and they said that there wasn't even much dew on the ground around the fire pit area, because they'd been out there, until fairly early in the morning, apparently. So lesson learned on that. I'll be checking that. Coincidentally, that was also the night of the sheriff's office Christmas party, but that wasn't us out there. I just want to touch on parental responsibility. I think a lot of these incidents going on at night around these neighborhoods are a direct result of parents not caring or about where their kids are, or just allowing them to go free when they shouldn't be. Parents, do you know where your children are? Why are they roaming the neighborhoods at night, or at, dark 30? Were your teenagers at this rager on Chadbourne on Saturday night? And if you know about it, have you called us? We've got 2 unsolved burglaries from earlier this fall. Both had similar methods. One was on Little Ossipee Landing, that's the development across from Old Portland Road. And the other one was on Nathan Smith Road, which is out in the middle of nowhere. It connects Chadbourne Ridge Road to Route 117 in Hollis, but we own part of that road. Like I said, similar methods used in both burglaries. I think the suspects are the same. You can look on a map and see the ATV trail runs directly from one house to the other, straight through the woods. The Little Ossipee Landing residents got hit particularly hard because they were gone for the weekend, and Grandma's car, who lived there with the family, got stolen right out of the garage, and the guy that lives there. It's either her son or her son-in-law. He had a nice ATV. That was, I think, a king quad. They thoughtfully took that too. Now, just 2-3 days ago, the car was found on Nathan Smith Road, not too far from the other house that was burglarized, stuffed up into the woods, covered in tarps and pine boughs. It's been there, I think, ever since. Still looking for information on that one. If anyone knows anything about that, please call the sheriff's office at 324-1113. We're really looking to find out who these guys are because they really did a job on these 2 houses. And they're unsolved. So we'd like to know who that is. If you know anything, suspect anything, know anything, 324-1113. You don't have to ask for me. You can just tell the secretaries what's going on. You can remain anonymous. But anything will help at this point. That's all I've got for tonight. Any questions from the board or anyone else?
Have the signs from Deering's Ridge been put up yet?
They have been erected. The orange flags I've asked for have not. So I'm still waiting on that. Nancy said that they'd been ordered.
Not only ordered, it was my understanding they were in.
Okay, well, that's better than ordered.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the signs were put up, the ones that say,
speed enforced by radar.
the only thing that we haven't done is put a big blinking light at the end of the road that says, "There's the sheriff's checking speed today, use an alternate."
Oh, they know anyway. They see me out there. It's gotten to the point. I know. And I'm getting a lot of people second time around at this point, so they know. I put a notice out on Facebook about that whole problem with Deering Ridge Road and what's going to happen, and people are fairly defiant about it. People are very fond of speeding across that road. You know, can we change the speed limit to 45? No. No, can
45, they're not even doing 45.
No, they're doing like 55. I know. I'm the one with the radar on the dash. It's a battle. Any other questions? I knew I wouldn't escape Deering Ridge tonight.
Okay, well, it's been 6 months and we're still talking about it, so.
Oh, it's been longer than 6 months. I've been battling that road 5 years.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Sean. All right, I'm gonna ask Julie, to just step up here quick. I think everybody's got did everybody get the email from Nancy? Okay. And this is just update us briefly on it, because we're gonna vote on this audit later, so if you can just take a few seconds and, because Nancy has sent this out saying that she reviewed the audit and the corrections were done, so.
I called her and let her know that it was on there.
So what do we have?
If you, the paperwork that you have,
Yep.
basic change, he's added the tractor and the plow truck.
Yep.
Which needed to be done. Then if you go to page 48, there was 3 fund balances that due to previous articles had to be moved out because we can't expend them. And that resulted in $35,114. That was for the transfer station and fire department or EMS.
Yep.
It says that. And the backup information goes further back on page 38. And those are the 2 changes that I was informed of.
All right. So it sounds as if everything is what he had listed in, I think it was page 34 last time on
Right.
overdrafts. Everything has been, which we thought we had taken care of before the end of the year, has been resolved other than the GA,
Right.
which is, I'm not gonna fool with that anyway, so. Okay,
Okay?
all right.
Thank
We'll
you.
call you at home if we get to the.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
All right, fire department, EMA, all of the above. Theatrical in his movements here, huh? He's passing his.
Can read along with my notes here. Oops, sorry.
That's right.
Chief, would you mind leaving one here so that when she collects her paper, she can read it over? Thank you.
I think it's been a few months since we've done a review, and I think I've been communicating with most of you electronically of some of our issues. Kind of a recap of everything that's taken place in the last several months. Attached to this document, there are a couple of reports for your reading enjoyment. One of them is apparatus responses, actions taken by the department, average response times, and the average manpower responding to calls individually. And the last page is an incident roll call, which you can see participant levels of responses accordingly for the entire membership of the department. So, moving on, and we can cover those in a few minutes as well if you want. Over the past several months, we've encountered several unexpected issues within the department, specifically within our maintenance of the fleet. We've got, it seems to be an abundant issues of pump problems, or two specifically. The ladder was repaired, however that was an insurance covered event. The pump ones were not, and we'll go into those in depth. CIP, we've got that submitted. I noticed on the proposal I see tonight, everything's listed under year one. I'm not sure if that was a mistake on my part. That wasn't the intent to list them all out on the upcoming year. However, our bigger concern, and we'll talk about that further down, is the forestry issue that we still have. Grants, we have two that are currently in the works. One of which we've obtained, which is to outfit the mobile trailer that we have parked at Central Station. It was originally obtained partially through a grant several years ago, but the use of mobile air is kind of diminished for us when we purchased the new breathing apparatus several years ago. So we're going to convert that into a rehab unit. We received just over $3,000 from Maine Municipal Association, together with Alfred, for heating units and misting fans and a variety of other rehab devices. So we'll be utilizing a little bit of that. And that trailer will eventually be parked at South Station. We also applied for the Stephen and Tabitha King Foundation for which listed on the grant as well, for the UTV trailer and a tow vehicle. In the priority, obviously, was UTV trailer, which also includes a skid unit for the UTV. We've been working and communicating with the ATV club with support from them as well. Staffing, we're on target with our per diem full-time staff, with the projections we had in our budget. Call company payroll, we're completing monthly, seems to be working out well, and currently we have no injuries and or expected vacancies. All right, moving on to maintenance. Truck we purchased a couple years ago. We traded a truck with the administrator's approval in 1984 or 82. The GMC we had to a collector that wanted the truck, and we picked up the 1996, I think it was, GMC from Jim's. When we obtained it, we knew that it wasn't in obviously pristine condition. It had body corrosion a little bit, but we didn't put a lot into it to get us by. The truck did not pass inspection recently at Hartford Truck Repair. Brake lines, front end suspension, and a litany of other items that were listed out. After speaking with the town administrator, the cost would well exceed any value at this point in the truck or for within our means. So we're holding off on that. And most of the equipment, or most of the work, was done internally anyways in the back, and the cabin crew was given to us. Following up with that as well, the service truck is due for inspection this month. We've been watching the corrosion, trying to take care of it as much as we can, but given the fact that the ice melting agents are not helping us with the underneath side of it. So we're not able to really progress much further with that unless we start putting a lot of money into the truck that's a 1999 with well over 100,000 miles on it already, that we picked up again used several years ago after we traded the early 70s, actually late 60s fire truck to a collector as well. Engine 4 and Engine 3 are the two trucks specifically that we had pump impeller and shaft issues. Engine 4, in order actually, Engine 3 had the issue first. It would appear that the shaft had never had any issues prior to, other than corrosion buildup, rust, and pitting, which resulted in pitting and damage to the impeller, which could not be effectively repacked. Engine 3 has a packing that can be replaced. Engine 4 is a mechanical packing. So anyhow, after further diagnostic and inspection through Greenwood, the truck was brought to Brunswick and it needed to have a new shaft and impeller. Well, that was completed. Parts were shipped from the E1 factory from Ocala to Brunswick, and they repaired that. Engine 4, while hose testing, had a bearing that an internal bearing that, from what they say, is let loose and disintegrated, and which caused significant damage to the impeller as well. And mind you, it was at a high RPM when it happened. The operators attempting to shut down the pump with the electronic controls. Obviously, the electronic controls and the pump weren't communicating well at that point, so they got the truck shut down, and there was damage to the impeller and shaft on that one as well. We actually have all the parts for that. It's kind of interesting to look at, and you can see some of the failure spots. I had some. I believe everybody probably got the emails on that back and forth. We've looked at many different issues. I know Selectman Abbott had some good questions on maintenance and what we do and how we would do it. And we continue to look at all those areas. We strive to do as much preventative stuff internally as we can. However, we don't get into the big stuff, and that's obviously why we outsourced all this work here. We utilize Hartford for our inspections. We had done the smaller vehicles across the street at Jim's, but he advised us that he could no longer do the emergency vehicles there, so they're all also going over to Hartford at this point too. And we've been looking at Hartford and Ray's Truck Service, and Hartford worked best for us at that point with cost and location. So had multiple communications about the pump issue, and basically aside from doing additional oil testing and samples, that you may or may not detect the problem. So that's where we're at. The problem with this is that it represents a $20,000 decrease in the maintenance line, which will significantly impact us for the coming months. We obviously had a $22,000 repair to the motor, which had a leak on ladder 1, which was actually covered by insurance as a result of when it was in the accident last year up off from Deering Ridge, right? Deering Ridge Road. We went back through all our maintenance records, and actually we had the insurance company had an outside individual come in and evaluate all our information and everything we provided for our inspections and our weekly truck checks, and we're very impressed. And we actually had enough documentation that we were able to pinpoint that it was probably, without a doubt, as a result of a overheated motor from that. So, let's see. Over the next several months, we have several items that will come out of the maintenance that we've already scheduled.
Fire call from Waterboro. Respond to 74 Hamilton Road. Caller reports smoke coming into his trailer. Sees no plants, doesn't smell anything. Not sure where the smoke is coming from. It's on the air.
Which represents approximately $12,000 over the next 7 months. My plan, if you agree, is to work within the budget to manage these unexpected costs. We'll work hard to conserve funds in a variety of other accounts, and I hope to shift funds later in the fiscal year to maintain that line of the budget. We'll watch this very closely with the administrator. Our ultimate goal, obviously, is to to do what we normally do, is try to be as conservative as possible and beg and borrow on other lines for stuff that we need to do and to move forward. So,
Okay.
and the attachments are pretty much informational. The responses from the equipment that we have out the door. So, if any questions from the board?
We jump to the last sheet. All of this has been billed or submitted all the time.
All except for December at this point.
Okay.
And training. We have not done anything with any of the trainings. And we have reflected some of the changes in the call pay for next year's fiscal budget as well.
Is that exhaust system working out?
Oh, I forgot about that. I'm sorry. Two things. The exhaust system was installed 2 weeks ago, week and a week ago. Works good. We're hearing some positive remarks from the crew. I say the air seems cleaner in the bay, but the exhaust system has been put in. They did a great job with it. And the 2 power cots have come in. Both are in service. The old cots are going back, and the ambulance is on order for late April delivery, probably thereabouts.
Good.
This engine 4 issue, I mean, is that typical? I mean, they said that the apparatus response, you had 42 responses, you had 34 hours on it. I mean,
That could have been from the hours on the trucks, or from the sitting on the side of the road of the fire, whether it's a 6-hour event or motor vehicle crash. Sometimes it's a couple hours, that motor vehicle accident, depending on where it is, and that's the motor vehicle accident truck as well. And if you notice, generally, we try to use the service truck as much as possible to send the bigger trucks back home, but that's obviously becoming to be a bigger issue with us since those trucks are going away. But some of the hours, now, truthfully, I attempted to validate, but I would not put a lot of into the hours portion of that report, because it could be a keystroke that someone put into the system wrong under the hours.
well, I'm sure, I mean, even though you could have 1,000 hours on a truck, but the pump and propeller is not running. I mean, that's just the truck engine is running.
And actually, to be honest with you, the issue with that, and we've had a lot of discussions about hose testing. For many years, we've tested hose using apparatus or the pump. We're really wanting to shift away from that. We don't have a hose tester. However, we're really not in a position right now to purchase a hose testing device. However, we've included that into next year's budget to obtain a device that has nothing to do with the fire truck. That we fill the hose lines with water and pressurize and test these hose lines with it's a pump, pressurize them that way. The RPMs were up. They were testing the line. According to Greenwood, is that the bearing that you see disintegrated and it broke the rest of there's a ring inside, which caused the metal to come out, score, and to damage the impeller and the shaft, which resulted in $9,000 worth of damage in a matter of seconds because of the RPMs that the motor was going at. So certainly nothing that we dreamed up to figure, to try to do in the middle of this year, but yeah. I don't disagree. And the reality is that it could happen at any event. Luckily that we don't always have clean water. We're not using hydrants all the time, pressurized hydrants where it's clean water. We're sucking out of ponds. The stuff we're picking up has a lot of potential for damage. We have strainers, but sometimes things go through strainers. So.
And what was the estimate, Matt, on the repairing that truck that's rusted out?
Which truck?
Well, the one you got from Jensen Auto.
Well, both of them came. The one that's out of service currently, the brake lines all need to be repaired. And right off the top, we were right around $3,000, and he needed to get into it further. It had corrosion, and I think that was when we talked about last year as well. That it was pretty much a Band-Aid when we got it to get us by time, and it needs some front-end work, suspension, tie rods, and some other suspension issues. So we didn't get into it much further because obviously we knew where we were already depleted the budget to the point where in that line that we were trying to make priorities at this point. And the other truck has significant corrosion, which we had taken care of some of it when we got the truck, the Dodge pickup, but a lot of that corrosion has really started to surface again in a bad way.
So is the Dodge pickup still going or not?
The Dodge pickup is going right now, and it's due for an inspection at the end of this month.
Anything else?
I just think it'd be interesting to people listening that you dial 911, and once 911 gets the information from you and puts out a tone, that your fire and rescue responds on an average within a minute and 20 seconds. They're in the vehicle and coming out of the building, and then the time when you call, they dispatch the tone to the average time for them coming to your house will be 7.5 minutes. So that's pretty quick.
It's on the fourth page. There is some good information in
You
there.
post this on your website, right?
We have actually posted a lot of information, and this is with the new system, so I'm learning it too.
Yeah.
So this was a challenge getting some of this out. But
All right.
anything else? I hope that answered your question about the truck and stuff. But both of them are. We depend on those a lot, probably, to be honest with you, sometimes more than the bigger trucks, because I'd rather not see a pumper sit on the side of the road for ever and a day. Just in case we're waiting for Central Main Power. I'll throw that out there for Selectmen to have it.
What's the prognosis on the Dodge inspection?
I'm not really looking forward to it, because I'm pretty sure that we have a new fender that was given to us from the late chief from Hollis. He had a Dodge pickup truck and he had one sitting in his garage, but the fenders at least of our issues with the corrosion of the rocker panels at this point, and it's all come from underneath too. So and we had a lot of work done on that truck, and we did a lot of work internally before, and then we had a gentleman off from 202 paint it for us. But I think that truck, if I remember correctly, has about 150,000 miles on it, and I don't know where it came from beforehand, but we use that a lot during the winter months, rather than putting other trucks on the road. So
You said you've addressed that in the upcoming budget?
that is in the CIP. That in the CIP item, it includes a skid unit for the back as well. But there are a lot of options, and I really think if we can sit down and talk about them, we'll explore everything we can possibly.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
So, just one more question before we leave, Chief. Based on what you just said, I think it's a reasonable assessment that vehicle probably will not pass inspection at the end of the month. What kind of situation does that put us in terms of vehicles? What are we going to do? What's the backup plan if that vehicle is used quite a bit? What position are you going to be forced to move into?
Well, we're hoping that our number of operators for an engine, it's going to be an engine response out of Central, or we'll evaluate the calls that one responds on to back up to the rescue. And that's generally what happens is the service truck responds to back up the rescue, and also as it's the primary tow vehicle for, obviously not this time of the year for the boat, but it's the tow vehicle for the boat and the snowmobile as well. So we have, and that is obviously included into the grant. We've kind of tied that into it with another tow vehicle as well. But
You tow with your Blazer, right?
the boat does not tow very well with it. I have done it, but it looks like doesn't work so good. But
All right, well,
we
keep us
don't have
abreast.
we don't have a good plan for that yet.
Keep us abreast. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, we need to know what the risk is, and if it goes out of service here with 6 months left, then we probably ought to, not that we're gonna wave a magic wand or have some pixie dust delivered, but
We'll keep you updated, and we'll funnel the communication still to you.
thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Lisa, nothing to say? Just
We'll give you a stellar
All right.
health officer dissertation.
Bob, you got the whole crew here, right? Almost 2020 Master Planning Committee.
A few of them. Tim, Dave, and Andy. So we quite a few of us here. In Tom's absence, I have been in contact with him quite a bit, and we're trying to carry on with him doing a lot of his work from home and on the telephone and so forth. What we'd like to do tonight is review for you what we've done so far, share with you some of the things that we're working on now and will be working on in the near future, and then discuss how we plan to wrap up the whole project as soon as we can. So as far as what we've done so far, we started meeting during the summer of 2010. One of the first things we did was we reviewed the prior town's comprehensive plans, and then we developed a vision statement which serves as a guideline for all of our actions. And I'll just review quickly that mission statement, vision statement, which was to provide a series of action plans to achieve and shape the future growth of Waterboro through a proactive, inclusive community effort that continuously improves and protects our quality of life by reaching a balance between economic development, environmental sustainability, and community livability in order to provide a legacy for our future generations. So with that in mind, with everything that we've done some of these other things. We held a series of visioning sessions in which we obtained information from citizens about what they felt about the town. We developed a chapter on energy with the help of Woodward and Kern, and then we worked on a chapter on villages with the help of the Conway School. This biggest project that we have going right now is continuing to refine the villages chapter. We'll be holding 4 listening sessions this winter to gain input on the conceptual data that we developed last spring, and then we'll decide what, if anything, we will need to do to move this chapter into an implementation mode. We will be scheduling those 4 sessions in January and February, and we think that those will be beneficial to us. We have finalized our operating budget requests for FY13 and 14, and I don't know if you've seen them or not, but we're pleased to note that we're not requesting any CIP funding, and we anticipate that we'll not need any further funds beyond FY13 and 14 because we hope that we'll complete all of our tasks by June of 2014. The major effort that we're working on this winter and this spring, we're working with Sewell Company on the wastewater aspect of the infrastructure chapter, as well as a digital or electronic data banking of the findings. Now that's really significant. And Tom has already started working with Sewell's GIS team, and they'll actually be doing a teleconferencing work session on Thursday of this week. We have finalized a contract with Sewell and Company that's been reviewed by the town attorney, has been sent to Sewell for their signature, and I don't know if it's come back yet or not. The committee last week met with Mike Riley, Sewell's senior project manager, and we are pleased to announce that the Sewell Company has already rolled up its sleeves and is working on our behalf. The committee is really excited and enthused by what we expect to be able to deliver to the town by next April. We think that the data that we will be able to generate for you will be extremely valuable and useful to the town's many boards and committees and individuals. Other tasks that the committee will be working on this winter and spring and hopes to complete before June include 6 tasks that are really minor tasks because they are not really minor tasks because they're really important and need to be addressed, but are not as monumentally important as the issue of wastewater. These 6 tasks deal with ownership and track references of the old railroad and bed locations, population history and projections, status of the Carthage holdings, natural resources and open space and recreation planning, tourism and hospitality, industry marketing, and economic development strategies. Now, we don't know yet what format the final products of these 6 tasks will be, because we need to collect the data and see what it looks like. And then for our final tasks, between July of 2013 and June of 2014, our committee hopes to fully complete all remaining tasks, inclusive of research, consultation, public outreach, committee recommendations, and summary reports of all the findings and discoveries. And a summary report inclusive of an implementation strategy chapter will be developed in hard and digital formats. So that briefly outlines what we've done, what we're currently doing, and what we hope to do over the next few months, and how and when we hope to complete the charge that you've given to us. We'll be happy to try to answer any questions that you might have, or to receive any input that you might like to give to us.
On the board?
Has there been any information supplied by the water district in the delivery?
Yeah, that's another thing that we're pretty pleased with, is that we think that we have started the process of good communication between our committee and the water district. They have met with us on one occasion, and then we know that the representative from the Sewell Company met with representatives of the water district last week, and have obtained some of their information, including, I think, one of their long-range plans. We think that that's going to be, in the end, really beneficial to the citizens of Waterboro in general, but to both organizations, our committee and the water district. And that, down the road, obviously, is going to be the next major issue that may come out of this, is what's going to happen water-wise. And another kind of side effect that we're sure we're going to be able to pull off before June, or before April, will be some very specific recommendations relative to a location or locations for an industrial park or business park. So we've accomplished quite a lot. We're pleased with what we've done. We've got a very hard-working committee that I think is pretty enthused about what we're doing. And again, we just can't tell you how excited we are about the end product that we think we're going to be able to deliver to you. I think it'll be so useful for the town for a long time to come.
Good. Thanks, Bob. Thanks to the committee. You guys have been working at this thing for some time, or a lot of you have, and appreciate the effort.
I think their level of enthusiasm is displayed here tonight, and the number of people they have from this committee that actually came, to hear this report before the board. So that speaks well, for that committee.
Let's jump to the RSU 57 board members. We have no road commissioner tonight, and we'll defer the selectmen's reports to the last, and the administrator is not here, so.
I'm not feeling that great, that's why.
We should have waved your hand before, and
That's all right.
we could have sent you home.
Nope, that's fine. I don't have a lot, actually, because as far as the finance committee goes, we're right on task. Revenues, expenditures are right where they should be at this point. I have learned more about water in the last 5 years than I care to think about. We finally have decided that we need to do something with Waterboro. We've bought enough water, and something needs to be done. We currently have an engineer working with us, and we're getting bids. We need to replace all of the pipes inside the old building, because that's where we're thinking the contamination is coming from. We've replaced everything else that we can think of. We've even connected that short line to try that, and we're not getting any tests, like maybe 1 out of 10 are passing. So we're currently waiting for the bids for that, and if you guys need to know, we'll let you know. We're still pursuing the connection to the Waterboro
water district. The business manager is working with someone in the Waterboro Water District, and they're trying to get grant money to help with the funding and
Yeah, I
stuff
think
like
it's
that.
all being worked by Maine Rural Water.
Right. So we're trying to do that. We had just an initial meeting with a bank about the discussion of upgrading the facilities at the high school. And when I mean facilities, it's a new football field, the whole 9 yards there, the tracks, the tennis courts, trying to put in some more fields, and it's just in the beginning stages of what our options are, what's available. We've already had an engineer come in, and we've had $3 million is the going rate to do all of that. So we're just looking at our options for that right now. And as far as the budget, we're still waiting for the business manager and the superintendent to set our schedule through. The finance committee is brainstorming very intensely to try to get more people out, because we seem to have no turnout for anything. Everybody complains about the budget, but nobody wants to come in and help with it. So we're just trying to find different aspects, because we've heard over the years a lot of times, like, we didn't know that was happening, we didn't know that was happening. So either, I know that the superintendent actually wanted to be here, he wanted me to send his apologies, it was something that came up, because he wants to meet with all the selectmen and try to get, something going with that. So that's all I have for finance and negotiations. We've had our first meeting with our teaching staff, and that's just ongoing.
So let me ask the
Big question?
wide open question. Should you then have to go through this re-piping of the elementary school? How does that get funded?
Well, it depends on the price. I mean, we have some contingency right now.
Yeah.
We do have a contingency, but we're not sure. Other than that, we're gonna have to try to find the money somewhere, because it needs to be done.
I mean, it's not something that you go and solicit from
No,
the state.
there won't be soliciting. We have to try to work with this
All coming out of
budget.
the local.
We have to work with this budget. But we do have over $1 million in contingency, which is one of the articles that people vote on every year. We may have to take a big chunk of that, but we're spending more money. I mean, we're spending up to $50,000 in water. So, and we've been doing this for over 5 years. And just the testing, the amount of testing. I mean, Matt, our maintenance guy, tests that water like every couple of weeks. And that in itself is cost. And we've done everything. The federals come down, the states come down. Everybody's looked at it, but nobody can solve it other than repiping the building.
Now, how old is that building?
It's old. I don't know the exact date, but I think it was like early 70s. 77? Yeah. I knew
Now,
it was
is
in the
that
70s.
typical of a school being built and then having the pipes not?
Not that I'm aware of, it's typical. I think it's just because of the building and then the adding on of the new addition and the septic system, and they've changed the levels of different things. Like when we tested for I can't think of what it was. Arsenic. Thank you, Lisa. And that failed. So the stuff that we needed to fix the arsenic made something else fail. And then the state and the federal levels had brought their levels down, so we failed quicker than what normally had to be. So
I don't know. I just feel that it doesn't seem to me that piping should be an issue here.
they've tried everything else.
I know.
Yeah,
But, I mean, Bob?
I think
can
it's
just tell you from my personal experience, all of the copper pipes in my house had to be replaced because of the mineral in the water, and it was kind of like sandpaper running through the water, and it just started wearing these little pinholes through the copper pipe. My house is about 5 years older than that school.
Yeah, your pipes are leaking doesn't make the water undrinkable, does it?
No, I don't know what that issue is.
You know, I don't know. I think they ought to look at. when
High
they-
lead content.
high lead content, yeah.
So it's a lead issue.
Yes. Yeah, it was arsenic at first, and then when we used that treatment, then the lead thing came in.
Because I think that's on the bubble for when they took lead out of the solder from the pipes. So
That's right. That's about the time that.
I'm curious as to how changing the pipe is gonna solve the water issue. Because if you change all the pipes now, and it's the water that's causing the problems in the pipe, aren't you gonna
Yeah, but they're gonna,
contaminate?
But they don't think it's the water, it's going through the pipes, because they have to take the first draw. So they've tested, they've changed the pump, they've changed where the well goes, they've changed all of that, and their conclusion of everybody, it's the pipes when the water's coming through. I don't know if it's just the sedation of it and I'm not a water person. I can have the business manager talk to you about that, but
No, I was just.
that's my understanding
I
of
was
it.
just wondering if replacing the pipes, we were gonna contaminate the new pipes before we get a chance to get on the town water. And we'd end up having to replace the pipes again so that they'd be clean for the town water.
Right, we don't seem to have an
all
issue
be
in the
done
new,
concert with one another, right?
yeah, we don't
Yeah.
seem to have a problem with the new part of the building. It's the old part of the building. So the new part of the building has different pipings, and those tests are passing. It's the old part of the building that they're failing.
That's a question from the back, Mr. Chairman.
Go,
Andy,
Andy.
from being a builder all these years, I know that if you have lead in your water, you cannot get it out with it. In '77, they were using copper and leaded solder.
Yeah.
And they banned that, they've lawed that now, we can't do that anymore. But a lot of the buildings that were built in the '70s have lead, and if you have piping and you have lead, it'll be there forever. And what she's talking about, what she says the first draw, is when they test for this, they have to let it sit in the pipes for a certain amount of time. And the very first draw in the morning is how they test it, because they have to test for the very worst case scenario. So if that's the case, the arsenic can be mitigated with filter systems.
Right.
I don't know of any water that will actually ruin the pipes. I'm not really sure what happened there. If you have iron and it's not mitigated, then you can eat it. But anything in your water supply can be mitigated with a filter system. And if it's not, then it will damage the pipes. But if you have lead, you can't do anything about it. You've got to change the pipes.
We tried to get away from it because we knew it was
No,
going to be a
I
cost.
just didn't, I was just mulling it over in my
Yeah.
mind, hoping that, if you change the pipes, you're gonna contaminate it with the new water.
We're hoping not.
Yeah, well, I would,
It's just like the kids can't, and there's no drinking, we have to buy the
it
drinking
would
water.
almost seem that if you're gonna change the pipes, you'd wanna do it in conjunction with the implementation of the.
And it may,
the
like
new
I said,
water.
we're still in the process of getting bids. I don't even know when this is gonna be done. So we're still in that, and then we're still in the process of working with the water district to get the grants to help us get the connection to the water district. So I'm just letting you know, this
It's
is,
a ways away.
right, it's probably,
Yeah, we're familiar with the grant thing, 'cause
Yeah.
we've already made
Yeah.
a pledge to, sign the grant or make
Yeah.
application from the municipality.
so we're really not sure, especially with winter coming now. I'm not sure. I'm thinking
Well,
probably
these
they look
days,
at
it probably
summer.
doesn't matter, but they're a ways away from, even if they get a grant today,
Right.
they're not gonna break ground tomorrow.
Right.
Okay.
That's it for me.
I hope you feel better.
It's been a week, it's time.
Let me just, Betty, we're gonna take you up later, but you don't have to stay for the vote.
Okay, so
Okay.
it will be voted on tonight, and I'll pick them up tomorrow. then.
Yep, there shouldn't be a problem, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's one of the last things we got on the agenda, so
Okay,
if
not a
you,
problem.
there's no, you don't have to sit down.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Sorry?
my turn. It's been a pretty quiet school year so far. As far as the committees go, the PR committee has also taken on the issue of technology, and so we're working with the technology coordinator and trying to make sure that as a district we're staying on top of our technology needs and not getting behind on that, and trying to, because there's a lot of technology in the schools, trying to make sure that we can keep that up and running, and we're not having burps in the system. We did earlier in the school year have a couple of those burps, and we lost some technology and ability for people to do the work that they needed to do, so we're trying to stay on top of that. The Transportation Committee has been joined also with a Safety Committee, and the Transportation Committee itself continues to do the same work that it's always done in the past. We monitor the budget of the Transportation Department, make sure that we're where we need to be on that, look over the policies and the driver's handbooks. And then with the joining with the Safety Committee,
that has become part of the meeting, which is done in executive session. And so while people are welcome to attend the transportation portion, because it is a thrilling thing to do, you cannot stay for the safety committee meeting, because what we're taking a look at is the safety and the security of our buildings within the district, and making sure that everybody within those buildings are kept safe when they're present. So we've done a lot of work with our school resource officer, Officer Solomon, and he's helping us out with that. And it's going to be a lengthy undertaking. It's going to take us quite a period of time, but he's done a lot of the groundwork for us, and that's going to be really helpful for the committee. The curriculum committee is still continuing to work on all the standards-based implementation, as well as work habits, rubrics, which I gave you guys a sample of the last time that I was here. And you know, as we go along, of course, there are issues with that have to, you know, you find that, all right, we have to take a step back and take a look at this and rework it and come at it again. But it's continuing to go forward, and we feel that we have a new system in for grading, which has been a bit of a learning curve for everybody. And I know for the high school, parent-teacher conferences have already taken place. Report cards have already come home. They came home last week. So anybody out there who didn't see their child's report card, you might want to ask them to see it if they go to the high school. The elementary schools, those report cards are coming out, and their parent-teacher conferences are coming up before the holiday break. The grading system that's going in, the computerized system, will allow the teachers and the parents to work a little more closely as far as making sure that the students are meeting the target goals, and if they aren't, where they're lacking, and we'll be able to provide a little bit of implementation in those lacking areas, as well as intervention as needed. That there will be a bit of a learning curve. They're hoping after this first trimester it will be much easier going with that. And the policy committee continues on their 3-year review cycle of all of the policies, and they're in the public portion of the policy manual now, which is the Section K portion. One policy that we were informed last night at the board meeting, our board meeting for this month was last night rather than on Wednesday due to scheduling conflict. And we were informed last night by the policy committee that one policy that will be coming before the board for language will be the use of the buildings policy. So it's policy KF. There's some recommended language changes on that. That always creates animated discussion, and so that'll come before sometime in January. I don't have the exact date. That'll be determined by the policy chair, who will take care of that. That's it.
Now, how is that new system you're talking about, and the teachers working to help the kids and communicate with the parents? How's that going to work? Is that an electronic type thing, or where they can communicate back and forth, or what are you talking about?
Well, it's similar to what we have at the high school now, which is Infinite Campus, which is what we have at the high school. And it's a computerized system where parents can go on, they get a password, they get an ID number, they can go in and they can look at their children's grades anytime. They can see if they're missing assignments. They can see, with the work habits rubric that's been implemented at the high school, you see how that is going, you know, are they playing well with others and things along those lines. And that's all on the computer. The kids have access to it and the parents have access to it. And with the system, that it will be implemented across the district, but right now they're working primarily in the elementary school level, and it's called Educate. And it will also break down where the goals are for the students in the performance-based standards, where they meet the milestones and the marks in those performance-based areas. It will break down how the kids are doing in that area, where they may be lacking, what they may be struggling with, why they didn't achieve a certain grade overall, because they may not have hit certain marks. So it will be something that is a lot more detailed and in the long run more easily understood by the parents. And so if the child comes home with a report card and the parents say, well, why did you get this? they can go back and they can look specifically at all of the goals that were supposed to have been met within that subject area, and what they did hit and what they didn't hit, and why they achieved the marking that they did.
I assume each of the parents have been notified the system is in operation, right?
Yes, and part of the parent-teacher conference aspect of it will be to be able to try and sit down with those parents who are able to show up for conferences, and go over the report in detail and explain how to read it and how to use it, and how the parents can make the best of it. And for those parents who can't, I'm sure there will be a different form of communication.
Now, is there a mechanism in the system that will calculate the percentage of parents that are involved?
I really don't know the answer to that. I don't know even at the high school level if Infinite Campus, I know that it can tell when you log on, it logs you, with my password, it knows when I was there last, it can tell me when I was there last, but I don't know to what extent that data will be used at this early point in it.
Well, I guess my point is that parents need to get involved.
Yes.
They need to know what's going on.
Yes.
And the kids need to know that the parents care.
Mm-hmm.
It's a multi-level street that we're working on here, and it's not just the educators.
Right.
It's kids, the parents, the whole 9 yards.
Well, and that's part of the standards-based concept, is that the kids take responsibility for their education. They see the outline of what it is they're supposed to accomplish to move on to the next level, and they take the responsibility of fulfilling those goals along the way. And then it's for the parents to see, again, you may have had a child who has gotten really good grades through the years, and they come home with a lower grade, and the parent wants to know why. This will be able to pinpoint why. And I think Officer Sanborn, I can reiterate something that he said. There is a level of responsibility at the parental level, and it's, my daughter knows that I go on Infinite Campus, and I look at her stuff, and I go, that's missing. Why is that missing? You need to turn that in. And she,
She knows that too.
I think that you're always going to battle parental involvement in some ways. And I think if we had 100% parental involvement, we wouldn't need Officer Sanborn. And if we had 100% parental involvement, we wouldn't have kids who struggle and who go a path educationally where they lean towards dropping out or they fail a class. If we had 100% parent involvement, we'd have so many fewer problems. But they're hoping that by making the reports easier to read and more definitive and pinpoint areas where extra help might be needed, that will be less overwhelming for parents. Instead of looking at it and saying, my child has so many issues in so many areas, they can maybe focus on those more minute details of, okay, so it's this area that we really need to work. And maybe that will lessen the feeling that, well, I can't do this, this is a teacher's job. And obviously the teachers are this is a whole new bandwagon that everybody's on. And so there's an awful lot of pressure on the teachers and an awful lot of very high expectations on the teachers. So anytime the parents can get more involved, we welcome it. And we welcome them at the budget committee meetings. So they're encouraged to begin getting involved at that level. So
does the system send periodic emails to the parents by saying something like, we've missed you, you haven't logged on to check your child's record for 30 days or something like that?
Well, I can tell you that I don't check my child's stuff every week, and I may go longer than 30 days, but my daughter's my daughter's pretty on target. But to my knowledge, there is nothing that is triggered, and there is no message that is sent. And I don't know if that's even capable within the system, but it would be something to consider if it is capable of doing that.
It came up, I just want to say about 20 years ago, it came up with a proposal that was very unpopular, and that was to, on the report card, to report on the parent involvement, so that you have your parent-teacher meetings, you have, let's say, a quarterly report that the parents maybe sign off on, and the parents getting into an electronic system or something like that. You can keep that all on record, and on the child's report card, they have their attendance and when they're tardy, and along with it is the parent involvement. At that time, maybe you're closer to be ready for that, but at that time, it was politically a bombshell.
I'm sure you received a significant amount of flack for that, but that'll be something that we can certainly bring up with the administrators and I would assume the IT department, because they might have to be the ones that would program something in for something like that.
The age of technology, right?
Blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Anything else?
Excellent.
Well, thank you, ladies, for coming in.
If you could
And,
just let me know for the coming year as soon as possible.
Yeah, we'll try not to schedule 3 or 4 other committees.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks. All right, moving along. Selectmen's reports, anything from anybody? New business, discuss CIP request. Not sure how deep you want to get into this, or do you want to, other than really this is the first shot of us having them. Probably ought to bring this back in a week and
To a little workshop on it.
okay. If everybody's agreeable with that, why don't we put it on as old business next week? And I guess it would really be discuss any questions that we have or whatever. It is what it is, what's been submitted. But, item 2, discuss requirements for documents needed from outside agencies. I think this was something that Tammy Jo wanted on. I think this probably can be handled just as simply as a letter that goes out to the agencies that typically submit requests to us, just reiterating that if it's not received by a certain date, that it will not be considered. And this letter should not be construed as approval of your request. It's got to be something.
Yeah, I think we've limited the number of agencies that we contribute to. They have to have a direct correlation to services that they provide to the citizens of Waterboro.
It's a little bit more than just those agencies asking. I think, you look at, like every year we seem to run a little bit late with, like Arrowhead Conservation Committee that does the milfoil stuff. So it's a matter of, does everybody that has solicited money from us, do they understand what the dates are? I guess that's really the question.
There's a couple issues that came up when I was on the finance committee in reviewing these, and one of the things, the number of people in Waterboro served or hours served. Then another area that was of interest was the financial report, the percentage of money being spent for administrating the agency.
Yep.
So those are some of the things that we wanted to know. So if you can kind of list those as part of their request, then that's how they'll be judged.
So I guess at this point, it really boils down to, having Nancy at least make sure, and it may very well be a moot point. Those folks may have already asked us that but we ought to go through of those that we've traditionally funded. Have they made their request? And at least start with that list. Okay. Item 3, discuss schedule for budget meetings. On page 11 of the packet, there is a calendar that's presented, which says the December 7th with the budget's due to the town administrator, and I know I was in here Friday afternoon, meeting with Nancy. She had the stuff all over this table here. And then by the 3rd of January, through the 11th, the budget's to the selectmen. So the calendar that's in here is the calendar that is in the policy, I believe, correct, Christine? In the selectmen's policy? So it is laid out there. If anybody has any questions with regard to that, then raise those up. John's look, just turn your computer sideways, John. Works the same way. All right, any questions, comments on that? All right, David, discuss items for getting the Economic Development Committee going again. This was something that you teed up, right?
Yeah, I did, and I don't know where to go with it, but it's, I feel it's a very important area, and I would love to see some people in town, citizens, who may have some experience or expertise in this area, or ideas, to come forth and do some brainstorming and get a group together.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the, and I won't call it a hindrance because I'm not sure how you get people to volunteer for committees anymore, but in this I shouldn't say the bylaws, in the ordinance that created the Economic Development Committee, which by the way isn't even on the website, so I'm not sure why that's not there.
Somebody better get that to me.
But that has, the membership is made up of this very specific categories. There should be a banker, there should be a real estate person, there should be, and I'm not sure that even though I think the intent is good, that we try to get people from those different backgrounds, I'm not sure that necessarily is something that you can do all the time. So it may very well be something, it's the same as, not to shift gears, but if you look at Public Safety Committee, everybody naturally thinks, well, the people on a committee should be involved in public safety somewhere, right? It doesn't really necessarily mean that they should or shouldn't, right? I mean, it's, so I think that what we need to do is to look at maybe dusting off the ordinance that created it, maybe looking at soliciting some people that, if you look back into the 80s, right, we had an Economic Development Committee. And I think Don Turner at the time was driving that. In fact, that's really the first time that the town met and got involved with Tom Ursa, because he was running a private business that actually put together a flyer and everything else, and he still got him in his office. But those date way back to the 80s, and that Economic Development Committee had a handful of folks on it that were interested in driving business to Waterboro. So maybe we just need to spread the net a little bit wider and take some of those, and I don't want to call them restrictions, but they are kind of targeted restrictions off.
Right.
I think, this committee tends to be a task-oriented committee. So, I mean, if you just have the committee for general economic development, they lose focus of where they're going. But now you have the 2020 committee is going to be coming up and looking at a business park, a potential business park. Now you have a possible subcommittee, an economic development committee, to get very involved in that, and they have a task to.
Now you bring up a good point, John, because I think if you look at now the folks that have jumped to the 2020 committee, they're all planning board members, right? So there's an interest, general interest, as things start to develop, that there's a close relationship, or there should be a close relationship between the planning board and that 2020 committee or the comprehensive plan committee. as they start to now branch off into some economic development issues, to me, that's the genesis for
Your bankers.
getting people, that might be interested as well. And it might be only one or two people that might currently be on the 2020 committee that see that as another possible branch off of their interest. So somehow we need to work, and I think that was, if you go back when we started the comprehensive plan committee, the vision is that committee could have all these spokes that went off it, to the planning board, to the economic development committee, to all of these things, because it really would encompass everybody. So maybe that's the drive that we need to, and I think you're right, John. I think here's a task that needs to be done by a bunch of people. Who out there is interested in working on this task, right?
And you may get, there may be a 6-month task, and once you've got it done, you're not interested in going to meetings that you don't just.
Right, because I think today, if somebody looks at it, the mission statement of the economic EDC is an advisory board to the Board of Selectmen whose purpose is to explore, promote, recommend strategies and policies which encourage new businesses to start, expand, and stay in Waterboro through responsible business growth, et cetera, et cetera. All right? Maybe the issue is out of the 2020 committee, there's this task or group of tasks that have to be done, and we start to look at, hey, if you were interested in working these things, we'd like you to join the Economic Development Committee, because that's really who's gonna drive the end product, right? I don't know, if that's at least maybe a.
Yeah, maybe we could even start, simply ask people who have an interest in economic development. They don't have to become a board member or whatever, but just come together and brainstorm a little bit, sit down.
And I think you could even, maybe after the first of the year, we tonight, was it tonight? That the WAB is having their, maybe it's time we turn that a little bit and say, listen, we, the board, would like to invite all the members of WAB and anybody else that might have a business in town or have an interest in economic development to a forum that we talk about, what are some of the things that have to happen going forward. That could include the 2020 committee, include us, include the planning board, and the business community. And out of that, there should be some interest of saying, hey, can we get 4 or 5 people to work those issues? Maybe that's a start. I'm not sure. Any thoughts?
Sounds reasonable.
So why don't we schedule, or, I know January's tough because of weather, and we always say, well, if it snows tonight, we're gonna have an alternate night, but we ought to at least start to look at a targeted.
Could we maybe put that in a pin of decisions just to keep it in front of us?
Yeah. So why don't we do that, and we'll just, let's say tentatively.
Coffee meeting or something.
Yeah, even if it's could be a Saturday afternoon, everybody's busy running a business, right? They don't have, one of the problems, and I, not the first time I criticized this, but, it is what it is. I'm not sure how you run a meeting like the EDC at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and expect you're gonna get people to attend those meetings that,
Not working.
and I think they did fairly well with that attendance, because they had some real local involvement, but still, I'm not sure if you went to and said, hey, we're gonna run planning board meetings at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, how many people say, yeah, I'm in, right? So maybe that's part of the thing, but.
Well, anytime you go to a meeting, especially if you've got other things going, if you're leaving your business to go to a meeting, it's gotta be important enough.
Absolutely.
You gotta have an agenda that you think is important enough for you to be there. So if you don't have those tasks set in front of you that you know that it's, so if you have kind of a vague thing, like we want to make Waterboro a better climate for business, then probably they're not gonna show. But if you get something specific that will get you there, they'll be there.
And I think maybe we drive, and ask the EDC, the 2020 committee, as they start to progress here, is there a task there that they can see that they might present to a group of business people in town, and maybe that's the genesis for spurring some discussion and getting it going?
Yeah, that is one of our areas that we're gonna look at, but,
Right.
you know, it's.
So maybe we ought to, default and let them take the lead a little bit with a little help, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a pretty full plate, but if we can help them with some interested parties, and we can put together a forum that might draw some interested parties into this,
Right,
might help.
yeah.
Right. So at a minimum, let's at least stick it on pending decisions.
Okay,
And I think we ought to have the same discussion at some point relative to how do we regenerate the public safety committee, right? And it may very well be, people that certainly are interested and they continue to be interested in public safety, be it, hey, what's the security of our town, and et cetera, because I'm not sure that we have a pulse on what people think about that. I mean, every year we vote on the contract deputy, and it becomes, a pretty...
And there's gonna be issues there, there's gonna be issues, I know, gonna be looking, in the next couple of years to increasing the contract deputy to a couple. And then at what time, then especially if the issue comes up that we're paying, the county for use, then you're looking at, okay, is there a different way, a cheaper way to go? So
Yeah.
I think there's gonna be some issues in that area that could get people interested.
So let's, I guess, at least try that, and at a minimum, we'll put it on the pending decisions and drive that. Item 5, and we talked about this last week, kind of expanded this a little bit because I think it's broader than just a couple of instances with the town charter revisions. I mean, we really have a whole bunch of things that have to happen. We've got 6 months to make them happen. There's the incorporation and the changes, just publishing the town charter, right? If you go to the town charter on the website, it's not the latest. And I'm not sure that the Charter Commission had a completely typed charter with all the revisions in it. I think they had the things that they were changing, but I guess we'd have to default to Diane and somebody to find out, because part of that charter change was to incorporate the Selectmen's policy for the budgeting process, which is the calendar and all that. So that all is gonna be incorporated into the charter, and it's gonna be published. So we need to work that probably sooner than later. We got a transition process that's gonna really change, and kind of we're jumping right into the finance committee meetings now with the budget, or will be in the next month or two, but after this budget season, there will no longer be a finance committee, there will be a budget committee, which has a whole set of different areas of responsibility than the current one does.
Yeah, I'm
So-
wondering here, if at some time maybe you assign people, selectmen that are interested into each one of these categories to one person to work with the budget committee and to start working on the transition there of as to what it's gonna look like, what their tasks are gonna be. Another person to work with Public Works,
Yeah, and I think,
and see what needs to happen for the transition.
To me, I think Public Works is the least of our concerns right now, because we have more of a window with that one.
we have a window because we have an elected road commissioner.
Right.
Whose term expires, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't start incorporating a Department of Public Works on July 1st of next year.
Yes,
There's nothing that prevents us from at least moving to the departmentalizing.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
Okay.
if we're to prioritize the
Yeah.
things that we have here, that one I think would fall further down the list than the others,
True.
because of that window.
But
we shouldn't ignore it altogether.
But budgeting and the structure of this year's budget has to, or should reflect the fact that in July 1st, we're gonna have a Department of Public Works. We won't have a director, but we're gonna have a department. Really kind of by default, we've got a road commission that has road responsibilities only, okay? So that's gonna have to be, and you're right, that's the longer term piece that by July 1 of 2014 has to be in place 100%.
You have to create some job descriptions, you know, the supervisor of the transfer station, different job description. So those should be all set
given
up
that,
before.
right, so given that there's like 4 or 5 different things, we've got a whole new job description for the town administrator, right? Really, you know, and I hesitate to use the word town manager because of all the phone calls that come in saying, oh, we're gonna hire a town manager. I mean, the job description starting July 1 for the town administrator is in fact all of the duties that you would find in a traditional town management position, right? We chose to, in the Charter Commission, chose to keep the name and the title as a town administrator. But our role changes, right? We're not gonna sit here discussing budgets with the fire department anymore, right? We still maintain the executive powers for the town, but, so, my thoughts, and I guess you can throw darts at this, I think we get those members of the Charter Commission that are interested back in a room, along with the 5 of us, and to John's point, if 1 or 2 of us have a preference for some of these categories, that we then maybe take 1 or 2 people out of the Charter Commission who kind of authored this thing, right? And start to work those specific buckets that have to come together by July 1st. And some of it will be implemented, or at least ready to implement before then, but we can't wait until June 30th and say, well, we got to do a lot of changes. So if everybody's amenable to that, I think we start first part of the year where we will invite the Charter Commission in some, or the members, or those that are interested in staying somewhat involved in that. It will no longer be a Charter Commission, but it may very well be a policy committee or an ad hoc committee or something that says, okay, these are the things that have to happen, job descriptions, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, little work groups.
Right,
You know,
right.
you have a couple, you might have a selectman or 2, and a couple people
Right,
from
and
the
then I
Charter
think-
Commission, and maybe, let's say in the Finance Committee, a couple people from Finance Committee say, okay, what is this gonna look like? What are the tasks of the committee gonna be? And need to have that done by May, because it's,
Because
Anyway.
you've got administrative officers that are appointed today that will still be performing those administrative duties, okay, but they will be under, you know, somebody that has the title. They will be deputized or whatever the case may be. But so there's a whole hodgepodge of things that have to happen here. So
Yep.
why don't I'll get with Christina. We'll schedule something and put out an invitation. We'll come up with some letter of invite to the folks, and I think we should put it out to anybody or all the committee members and see if there's interest, and we'll move on from there. I think we'll just put together, these are the things that have to happen. This is where we see we need bodies and hands and to push different issues along. Anything else on that? Old business. Discuss a vote to approve the audit report. I think everybody's got a hard copy.
I don't know if you want the specifics in the motion, but I would move that we accept the items that the treasurer came in and presented to us
Those are in this report.
Okay, to be added into the audit report and accept the audit report as with those corrections.
Okay. We want to second that?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? And I believe, based on the note and the comments from Julie, that all of those things that she discussed are already in this package. Okay. So, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you. Discuss the vote to approve the Mass Basic Lines application for State of Maine Games of Chance and Beano licenses I think we kind of pushed this last meeting because we did not have reports. We now have got feedback from all of the necessary folks. There have been no issues, so.
I will move that we approve the Lions Club application for games and chants and Beano license.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Lastly, under old business, discuss plans for the employee family holiday party scheduled for Friday, starting at 5, going to 7. RSVPs are coming okay, or you're frowning a little bit?
The last I heard for head count, Laura's been doing the tallying was 42.
Okay.
But I have heard some comments about people changing their minds about attending, so.
So if there's 42, if there's 42 now, it seems to me last year it was about the same, but we had another probably 15 or so show up that didn't. I mean, for one thing, I don't know if we've got all our people down, even though we're working there, we're eating too, you know, and
I just
But
made
for
a
at least
initial
two.
assumption that
people
they-
working at the fire department at the time would come in. There's usually another, there was you get students and people on duty, and then there's usually a few other fire people that come in, so that there's
Laura
another
was
10 or
gonna
15.
work on trying to nail them down, so have you spoken with Laura over there?
I don't know,
Maybe
Have you spoken with Laura at the fire department?
Yes,
She was
yes,
gonna try
yeah.
to make contact.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm doing the buying and the preparation for the main meal, the salad, the garlic bread, the spaghetti and meatballs, drink, and so I've got that. I've talked to Leo Bennett, and he's going to be getting some stuff for us. I'll be purchasing things at the store at Hannaford, and I'll be cooking most of the day Friday. So if I remember last year, things started to get kind of busy around 3 o'clock, 3:30, putting tables up and getting the stuff all ready to serve. So and Tammy Joe, I think, is coming in with a dessert, and that's pretty much what's happening.
okay.
No, I would think, this is for anyone who's on any of the committees that have served some way.
Yep.
Whether it's the old blacksmith shop or whatever out there, one come along.
They're
come along.
interested.
Absolutely.
Come on down.
So I'm, even though, so I'd much rather, as everybody's coming to my house, I don't want to run out of food. So I'd much rather overcook than undercook. So I may be
I
looking.
think you can plan on 60 anyway.
Yeah.
So I think I'll be cooking for probably 70 people.
Okay. All right, anything else on that? Okay, moving along. Entertain a motion for warrants and bills for payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Entertain a motion for the minutes of December 4th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Pending decisions, PSA, driveway, opening permit, board and committee status. We're gonna add to that, the
Economic
expansion of the Economic Development Committee. Week's action list, I think, Christina, all we really need to kind of follow up on this letter to the agencies, if we have not heard from them. Discussion of items for next week. We're gonna bring back the CIP. Next week, just to remind everybody, will be the last business meeting of the month.
And have we actually set up times when we're gonna come in and sign and open it?
They're gonna
So
try to
that'll
get
be a good time to do that.
everything, yeah, everything is gonna, she's gonna have it, try to have everything in this warrant for next Tuesday night, other than payroll, and at least one of us will have to come in on the 28th, 21st and the 28th.
Yeah.
To sign the warrants. For payroll. Okay? Yes.
I'll have the CIP and your workspace probably later this evening for you too.
Yeah, I'd rather do that than carry this book around.
What are we doing on the 20th? Because I have the 21st logged in.
I think it's the same thing, we just have, all we need is one person to come in and sign. So if we get 2 or 3, that's fine, but we're not gonna have an official gathering. I think that's the way we left it, right, Christine?
Right. And then we're gonna see what happened if you wanted to do a special meeting with.
Right, well, yeah, that was the other discussion, and we can have that discussion next week, which we ought to put it on the agenda, is do we schedule one last meeting after the first, after the, do we schedule a meeting like on the 26th or 27th? I don't think that there's anything pending that's gonna require us to do that. And I would sooner think that, if anything, we would schedule a meeting on January 2nd, right? And not wait until January 8th, but let's put that on there as an agenda item next week. Okay? I'll mind this quickly, the road review committee is meeting here tomorrow, at the Old Town Hall tomorrow night. Finance committee Thursday night at 7 p.m. over at the Old Town Hall. 12-town group here in this room, 6:30 Monday night. Transfer station committee at the Old Town Hall at 6:30 on Monday night as well. That is a pull-up of their meeting by a week. And next Tuesday night here, 6 p.m. Christina, I may add an executive session at 5:30. Then let's see, December 19th, there's been no planning board meeting, it's being canceled. And December 22nd, 8:30, cribbage tournament in the Old Town Hall. December 25th, Christmas Day, no selectmen's meeting. Also on the 24th, we're not open here, right? No one here on,
Regular scheduled staff gets a half-day paid,
right,
but most of them are taking that other half-day as a
Yeah.
holiday, so I don't expect anyone to be
so
here.
there will not be anybody here on the 24th or the 25th. Town office, the town hall will reopen on the 26th at 9 o'clock. If there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move. Second?
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.